What's going on, Sumolings? It is Chris here from AppSumo, wishing you a happy Friday. Super excited to get going today. We have another product walkthrough webinar for you with GetSocial. Now, GetSocial is a social media content and distribution platform that uses dark social to track and improve content performance. It's available right now on AppSumo, starting off at just $49 for lifetime access. So we're going to be going through that today, show you how you can be using it. Before we do, two quick pieces of housekeeping. One, if you have any questions, drop those below the video in the Q&A box, and we'll circle back to those towards the end. Number two, if you have to pop out early for any reason, we'll be sending out a replay later today, so you can review and watch this as much as you'd like. And last thing, before I turn it over, let us know where you guys are tuning in from. Let us know what your business is so we can kind of maybe tailor this towards what you're working on. And number three, let us know, have you already got your hands on GetSocial, or are you joining the webinar to see if it's the right fit for you? Let us know in the comments. But that is all I have from me. So we'll turn it over to our guest here who can walk you guys through this.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. Hi, everyone. My name is João. I'm the founder of GetSocial. First of all, thank you for the AppSumo team. The response has been overwhelming. And we did have a lot of people chatting with us, wanting to know more about the company, wanting to know more about the product and how they can leverage the solution towards their websites. So today, me and Chris thought about doing this live demo about how you should set up GetSocial on our websites, and mainly what are the main benefits of the solution and how you can use it. So without further ado, perhaps I will share my screen, Chris.
Yep.
So we can take a look at the product and we can go directly from there. Not this one, this one, not this
awesome.
one.
Yep, coming through clearly. Let us know again in the comments if this is coming through for you guys. And I see a nice comment already that they're saying you guys are so great. GetSocial, you guys are super responsive and have a great product. So that's awesome to see.
I mean,
cool. I'm going to turn off my video for the time being and let you run with it.
I mean, Chris, we do have amazing people coming out to our support. So although people are talking well about us, it's been amazing, the connection with them. So
awesome.
First things first, one thing that it must be very clear when you purchase this deal with AppSumo is that GetSocial, it's something that you definitely need to install on your website. And the way you can do that is after you redeem your code. So when AppSumo sends you a link, you'll be given one or three codes depending on the plans you buy. You can either directly create an account with one of those codes and then stack the additional ones on your page. You can do that by clicking on the settings bar, and then you'll have something called enter additional AppSumo codes, where you'll see this page and you can basically upgrade your account based on your new codes. But one thing that you absolutely must do, and let me just push this down, is install our code on your website. And this is very easy. You don't need to be afraid of this. It's you can do it in two ways, basically. Actually three ways. One, you can go, if you're using Google Tag Manager, you can directly install GetSocial through your Google Tag Manager just by authenticating into your Google account here, and it will automatically install GetSocial on your website. So a couple questions have popped on support and on AppSumo pages asking, after I do this integration, do I need to have any other code on the website? And the answer is no. Once the library code, the one you're seeing here, which is custom for every website, is on your website, you don't need to do anything else for the big majority of features, and we'll cover that in a bit. The second option is if you're using WordPress as your content management system, you do not need to install any code whatsoever. So you can go to your WordPress plugin store, you can search for GetSocial, and there will be a plugin, the GetSocial plugin for WordPress there, and you just need to install that plugin, and it will be automatically installed on your website. If you don't have any of those two solutions, you can, well, as any other marketing tag, you can go here, so settings, site settings, and then install GetSocial, and you will have your tag, which you just copy and paste into your code before the head tag. So once that code is online, the majority of your work is now done, and you just need to access the first step of GetSocial, which is the social tools, which allows you to install all the sharing and the tracking abilities of GetSocial into your website. Now, although there are quite some tools here, you need to be wary of the user experience you want to provide to your audience, and you need to be wary of the goal that you have for usage of GetSocial. So the majority of our customers want a very simple user experience for sharing and then leverage the power of the analytics that we provide. So for that use case, our recommendation is quite simple. You might just need what we call a floating share bar and a mobile share bar, which are both of them the classic share buttons bars, which are highly customizable here on the back office. And here what you can do is select the social networks that you would like to provide your user base for them to quickly share your content. You have about 33 different networks that you can choose from, including, for example, more oriental ones like Weibo or Line or any kinds of networks used there, but also private messaging platforms like WhatsApp, like Messenger, like WhatsApp, Snapchat, even SMS, or the good old copy the URL button that you can use for your customers. So everything here is highly customizable. You can enable or disable the customizations that you want. You can use a palette of predefined colors or use your own if you want to be wary of your branding on your website. And you can have so many customization about, do you want the counter to show up on a specific network, or do you want the total number of shares to appear for that from that same page? What's the shape, what's the size, what's the position? So it's very flexible for your website. And what we do absolutely recommend is that on the mobile experience, you activate the mobile share bar. So the mobile share bar is tailored to the mobile experience, and it gets fixed on the bottom of the page when people visit your website from a mobile device. When this feature is activated, the other one, the floating or the horizontal one, which are for desktop, they automatically disappear. So the users are just focused on this mobile sharing feature alone. So from our data, we've discovered that the majority of people, when they have a mobile share bar like this, they actually tend to click more on this bar rather than the one that's on the desktop version. The reason being that normally the users choose social-driven platforms here, such as WhatsApp or Messenger or SMS, and the experience is much simpler in that way because they're already on a mobile phone, they want to share your content on WhatsApp with a friend, and it's just at the click of a button. Again, same customization rules, very flexible, and you're basically, once the code is installed, you can just customize your share bar, click save and activate, and you don't need to do anything else. You just hit refresh on your page and the share bar will be there. So that's a bonus for ease in there. Now, the third feature from the social tools that I want to cover is very, very important, is called the copy and paste share tracking. So if you're visiting our AppSumo page, you might see the words or the phrase dark social. So dark social is at the core of what GetSocial does. And it's basically the understanding of how people share your content into private messaging apps, like the ones we've been discussing today, like WhatsApp, like Messenger, like Instagram DMs. The only way we have to track those shares when they're happening at the copy and at the address bar level is by activating this feature. So this feature, you just click activate here. You don't need to do any customization because what happens is, and I'm going to show you an example of our blog, what happens is GetSocial is going to tag every link from your website dynamically with a unique tag on the URL. So for example, here, we notice that we have the share buttons on the left. This is the floating share bar that I showed you earlier. If you visit this same blog on a mobile device, you'll see the mobile share bar, which we just shown. But here's the gold digger right here, because from our data, the big majority of shares overall on the website are happening when people go here and they copy and paste a link. And dark social happens when this share is made onto a private channel. So if I were to copy and paste this link into an email or a WhatsApp conversation, and the other person would click on that link, it would show up on analytics solutions like Google Analytics as direct traffic, which is the same as believing that the person typed the full URL and then clicked enter, which is nonsense with URLs this big. So it's super important to track dark social for you to understand really how the audience is engaging with your content, what they're reading, what they're sharing, and if those shares are generating traffic back to your websites. And so, long story short, for the main features, these are the 3 most used ones on GetSocial. And then you have a bunch of features that are more of support of other kinds of engagements. For example, with AppSumo, with Sumo links, reactions buttons are being heavily used, and reaction buttons are a different way for people to engage with your content, saying or clicking at one of the smileys or the emojis that we have for them, and basically having that kind of engagement with the content, which also provides some sort of feedback towards your editorial and content teams. But so from the moment that all the tools or the tools that you want are installed, we start to get real-time data into our dashboard. So I just went here on the left of our navigation menu and click dashboard. And on the dashboard, you'll be able to see everything that's happening on your website at a very high level for a specific date. So one thing, if you have bought more than one code, you will have access to more than one website used by GetSocial. And you can navigate through your websites, clicking here, and you can have multiple websites there, unlimited even if you buy the last plan. And you can navigate between websites on this section here. To add a new website, you just click here, add new website, you enter your URL, and you give you the new library code so you can install and start everything from scratch, getting the library code online, installing the tools, and you're set. Just to respond to one question that popped up also in the comments and on our supports, if you're an agency and you're managing multiple clients, you're absolutely safe to have all your clients under one GetSocial account, because for every account, you can go again into settings, manage users, and then define for that specific websites, all the users that have access just to that website. So you don't need to worry if the client B is going to look at clients A data, because the websites and the accounts within GetSocial are independent. Only you, the manager of the account, have access to all data sets. So moving forward to the data. So again, dashboard, high level overview of what's happening on your website. And we have like a social funnel here. So let me take, for example, data from the last month, which you can choose here. Basically today in real time, 7 days, last month, last quarter, or you can select just a custom date. And what you can see here is a social funnel of the engagement of your websites. So you'll have visits, which are sessions. Sessions are visits to your website within periods of 15 minutes. If you have more questions about what a session is, we've explained that, and it's pinned on our AppSumo deal page. We'll have shares. So shares are all of the social shares happening on your website, both by clicking a button or by copying and pasting a link on a social network. And you have referrals. And referrals is all the traffic generated by those shares. So they're a direct consequence of a share. So here we can understand that about 2 million shares made in the last month on this website were able to generate about 12 million referrals for this website, which is, if we take in consideration about 38 million sessions this month, it means that just about 5% of the people sharing, so those 2 million shares, were able to generate about 1/3 of the whole visits of the website. So for this specific website, sharing is a very important component because it's actually a driver of growth to their content and to their metrics. And here below, you'll find some other metrics. So recirculation, it's about user loyalty. So a 20% recirculation means that 1 out of every 5 people or 20% of people that are referred to your website, they actually visited more than one page on their sessions, and the depth is the average of that session. So it means that on average, those referred folks actually visit 2 pages on average once they were referred to your website. In this case, on the dashboard, it might seem too high level, but once we can drill down on the top stories page, you'll see that you can compare pages and posts and see which of your content is generating the most loyal audiences. And here below, you'll find, again, high-level overview about where people are sharing your content, so in which devices. And for you guys who probably manage content, mobile is going to be a big part of that traffic. And here, on the right, you'll see the distribution of the method of sharing. And again, these 90%, this is real data from a real customer, but anonymized. 90% is not very far from the average that we see from GetSocial customers. So the majority of folks are going to copy and paste links or use their mobile browsers to share your content, which counts as a copy and paste share as well. So it's super important to have that feature, the copy and paste share tracking, so you know actually if and how people are engaging with your content. And this is the dashboard, very high level. Everything that you see from a data perspective is reportable on our report builder, where you can basically have all this data communicated to you via email, in a PDF, or in a PPT if you want to do a presentation on whatever cadence you want. So for example, you can receive this dashboard every Monday at 9 a.m. with last week's data, so you can present to your team at your 10 a.m. meeting, for example. So everything that you see from a data point, you can export it automatically to your, as a report to your inboxes with the cadences that you like. Moving forward, social analytics. So one of the biggest advantages of the GetSocial deal is that you'll have access to data that you normally don't see on every other product. The advantage of being installed on a website is that we can actually track what happens after people click a share button or after people copy and paste a link. And here we have, we will cover 3 main pages here on social analytics. We'll cover top stories, top channels, and top influencers. Bear in mind that this is anonymized, but you would see here on what says article 1, you would see exactly the title of the pages that you have on your websites. So top stories has the goal to provide you data about which content is having the highest engagement and then explain you why. And why here is basically telling you which social networks are driving the growth of this piece of content. So from the first glance, you can see the same social funnel. So one article has an amount of visits, an amount of shares, and some referrals, but then you can basically drill down and understand for that specific story, which were the social networks that our audience engaged with and what was the influence of those social networks. So the way you would read this is that for article 1 that had 200,000 visits in the last month, we had in this specific article about 4,000 shares were able to generate just over 130,000 referrals. But then when we'll drill down, we can actually see that despite dark social having the majority of shares, so dark social had 73% of shares on this specific article, Facebook was actually the driver of the majority of referrals. Why did this happen? Potentially someone with a big page or a big group shared this content there, and just about 1,000 shares were able to generate 130,000 referrals to this story alone. So for example, if you have this data, let's not say in the last month, but if you have this data in real time, it might be useful to fuel a social media team so they can know what to post next on Facebook or what to post next on other social networks that they have access to. If you're talking with the content team or with the marketing teams and you have this huge newsletter that goes out at 5 p.m., it might be wise to post this specific content there, because you know that when people share this content, they're actually driving a lot of traffic back to the website. So what you want to do is to find these avenues of growth and these snowball effects where people can use this content to post in their social profiles, and then you capitalize on the traffic being generated by all those posts. And again, all of these is exportable. You can have a look of the top 10 or top 5 and receive them over email, or you can segment this data based on whatever criteria you like. So if you want to have, I want only to show here on top stories that have more than 5,000 shares. So you would create a segment with shares above 5,000, and we will filter the data for you. Now, we're looking at the data from a post or page perspective, but we can also look at the same data from a social network perspective. And here we would go to top channels on the left, and we would basically see all of the social networks that for a given period had engagement through GetSocial. Now, you're seeing here a lot of social networks. Does this mean that the customer have all of these share buttons on their websites? The answer is no. So one of the other advantages of having the copy and paste share tracking feature on your website is that if you copy this link with our tagging into, for example, Reddit, which is not on the share bar, and if that generates traffic back to our websites, we will be able to account that that traffic as being Reddit traffic, and we will account and show it for you here on top channel. So you don't need to provide bad UX or user experience to your customers with having 30 different social buttons on your website. As long as you have the copy and paste share tracking feature, we will be able to track all of the networks that had engagement and quantify that engagement here on top channels. What you can do here again is order everything by the shares, the referrals. So you may want to see which social networks had the highest number of shares. Super normal that you'll see that dark social was able to generate a lot of sharing and that Facebook was able to generate a lot of referrals. But then perhaps you're going to find some good opportunities for exploring other networks such as LinkedIn, Instagram, Pinterest, or the good old emails like the good old channels like email or Messenger or any other social network that might be handy for your audience. And the third thing that I would like to discuss today, because it's been talked heavily on the comment section, is top influencers. So there's a very good explanation there based on the feedback of a lot of folks, but influencers is a feature that requires a little extra customization. On influencers, we are not measuring, we're not a database of Instagram influencers, we are not measuring the growth of influencers, followers. We don't do anything on the public side of things. For GetSocial, influencers are the users that are already registered with you on your website. Now I'll give you an example. Imagine that you're an e-commerce store and you want to find which of your users generates more sales when they share your products. So that's the perfect use case for GetSocial influencers, because what happens there is once the user logs into your e-commerce store, you pass along a customer ID or something that's not non-personal identifiable information to us, so we can track that user engagement on the websites. And when you want to retrieve that data, you do an API call to us, and we'll say, for this customer ID, we have that she made 25 shares, generated 100 referrals, and those referrals did 25 purchases with the value of $1,000. And then on your end, you'll be able to match that influence, those results, with your own customer data and see that what we call the she was actually Mary, and that you can now talk with Mary and do some sort of campaign because she's influential to your business. So just to get it clear, we don't do any kind of identification of people. If you're not sending us any ID, we cannot do much because we're very privacy focused and we don't have any data from your users whatsoever. So you must identify the user for us in a non-personal identifiable information, and then we'll do the tracking that we do for everything else to that specific code or customer ID and send back the data to you. So, and because we're already about 20 minutes in, and because we want to move to questions, I'll just cover two more things that are included on our plans. Viral alerts is a feature that gets you notified when something important is happening on your content. So the biggest use case we have here are content teams, editorial teams, or anyone that is actively looking at spikes of traffic or engagement in your data within a day. So the way you can use viral alerts is, so going into viral alerts, creating a new alert, and you can call these alerts, for example, let's say that you have a website where you consider something viral if it hits 200 shares. So you can come here and say more than 200 shares, and you can create just a trigger saying, if today in any of my content, I have more than 200 shares, even if it's from Facebook, then I want to be notified by email or Slack. You call it to my email, so to joão@getsocial.io. I want to be notified as soon as it happens that this specific article has reached this threshold. So for example, I can inform the social media team that they should do something about it. Or for example, I should inform the website team, if this is a newspaper, that this specific story should be higher in the home page because it's generating a lot of buzz. So this is something that you define the thresholds, you define the formats in this area, and then we notify you via email or via Slack when those thresholds get hit. You can also do this in some sort of reports, something like every day send me the top 5 articles that have more than 200 shares, in this case on Facebook, and I want to have this information by noon, for example, on 12 p.m. I want to make it daily. So at noon, I would be receiving on my email a report of the top 5 stories today that have more than 200 shares on Facebook. So you can use it both ways. But again, this is always a feature that will notify you when something happens, but doesn't do anything else after it happens. And the last thing that I want to show you is the other feature that actually identifies those spikes, but then does something else to drive traffic to your website. And that's the Facebook automation feature. So the Facebook automation feature only works for Facebook. So a bunch of questions have popped asking, do you do Twitter? Do you do LinkedIn? We don't do it yet, but after the feedback, we're actually considered to build automation tools for those networks. But again, what we want to achieve here is to create a process where if something important and relevant is happening on your content, we could save you time preparing and planning and distributing that content over Facebook and do it for you. So what you would do here, again, create, let's say it's 200 shares on Facebook, and we prove that, or we have proven that when you post something on these criteria on Facebook, you actually generate a lot of content to your website or a lot of traffic to your websites. So what we're going to do here is create a rule for automated publications on your Facebook page as soon as this happens. So I chose here post content to GetSocial. So here it's GetSocial's Facebook page. I don't want to have content that is older than, for example, 2 months. So I'll say 60 days. I don't want that content to be posted on my Facebook page. And to be respectful of the Facebook algorithm, if this content has already been posted in the last week or 7 days, I don't want that content to be posted again on our Facebook page. And let's cover the same scenario. Let's trigger this automation rule if and only if we have more than 200 shares on Facebook today on any given piece of content. And again, we can now choose the delivery settings, which are quite simple. So you can have it publishing as soon as it happens, which is an option. You can have, for example, a simple schedule, which is post every 20 minutes, so 3 posts per hour between 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. based on these criteria. And what the system will do is every 20 minutes, it's going to check if there is any article that respects this rule, 200 shares on Facebook, hasn't been posted for 7 days, isn't older than 2 months. And if it exists, it's going to automatically publish that content on your page with a very native aspect. So like it was manual posted by someone on your team, and it will push that content out to Facebook, and it will start generating some traffic back to your website. And the way you can see how much traffic it was able to generate is by going into analytics here on the top, and you will see all the posts that were made on a given date on your Facebook page and the amount of traffic that those posts generated. So for example, today in this page, 83 posts were published on Facebook, and they generated a total of 17,000 visits to your website. 12,000 of them were referrals, which means that there were direct clicks on the Facebook posts on Facebook. And then earned clicks is what we call to the people that came from a second level share. And second level share is quite easy. So out of these 12,000 initial people, some of them reshared your content when they were on your website. And those reshares generated 4,000 extra sessions. So you can actually understand the true power of social here by understanding all the different layers and different steps that people take onto sharing and measuring how much traffic that generates to your website. And again, you have all the posts that were published on social, and you have the analysis of engagements, of referrals, of earned traffic per posts, so you can have a clear overview of what drove value to your contents. I mean, Chris, I think that's without pushing too much of our time today, it covers the majority of the product and especially covers the main pain points and the main benefits that people were talking about on the comment section and also on our support system. But I mean, if there are any questions, let's cover them.
Yeah, no questions so far. So I think if we want to navigate over to the GetSocial page on AppSumo, kind of go over what's included in each tier. So why somebody would want one license versus multiple.
Perfect. So let me just open that. So can you see, Chris? Can people see?
Yep, coming through clear.
So we have 3 plans here on the AppSumo deal page here. It really depends on the use case here. What we've been seeing is that I'm not sure if it's the majority, we'll have to check the data, but a lot of the people who are talking with us and trying to have some help with the use cases and how they're going to use the product, they're actually going for the triple because they want the reporting features or the influencer features or the conversions. And if you have any questions on those, there are a lot of Q&As on that comment section where we explain the use cases and what we can do with each of those features. But let's start with the single. So the single is useful if you're a small blogger or if you have just 1 or 2 websites that don't have that much traffic. So you can have up to 3 domains that combined, so the 3 of them cannot have more than 50,000 sessions per month, the 3 of them. So if you're just running your small blog or your company, your corporate website, but you don't have that much traffic, this might be useful for you. And you'll have access to all the share tools that we discussed today, the dark social analytics and attribution that is so important, the automation feature, the scheduling rules, the viral alerts. So you will not be having less features than what we discussed today, but it's just very focused on a small website. And the difference from single to double is just on the scale. So instead of 3 domains, you'll have 10 domains. So think of it small agency or SME agency that has a lot of small websites, small businesses, that each of them has some traffic, but combined they don't go over the threshold of 250,000 sessions, 250,000 sessions. So the exact same set of features, but with a little bit more volume in the sessions and the number of domains. But I think that the most valuable plan here, especially with the kind of feature that you have, will be the triple one, because you'll have all the benefits that the other plans have in terms of features, in terms of analytics, in terms of what value and insights you can get. But then you can give that extra step. So you could have the reporting, so that the reporting feature I was mentioning about getting that report in a PPT, which is white labeled, by the way. That's one of the agency features. Having the report without any GetSocial branding ready to present to your team or to your boss. That's very useful when you're going to share, for example, last month's performance. And that's one of the features you have on the triple plan. The conversions as well. I just, before this call, replied to a Sumuling that was asking, when do I use the conversions? And I was giving the example of actually two things. An e-commerce company, again, wants to understand when people share their content, their products in this case, on WhatsApp or on Facebook Messenger, is that driving sales? So with the conversions feature, you can actually tie sales to the traffic being generated by those shares. And if you think, if you remember of that top channels page where we would see dark social and Facebook and Instagram, imagine having a column there saying this was able to generate $1,000 in sales in the last week. So you can tie business results to the social engagement happening on your website. And another example is, so we do have a lot of B2B companies like Intel and Adobe, which use us for their content marketing teams on their websites. And these teams are highly proficient in understanding how their content drives value to them. And in this case, conversions to them is things like leads generated, demos requested, contact sales. So anything that's quantifiable for them and for their marketing and lead generation teams, we can help them understand them with conversions. Again, influencers, we've discussed that, available on the triple deal. And we already have several AppSumo customers that bought this deal, already understanding how individual users are driving growth and traffic to their website. So very good to see that. And finally, the API, which sometimes also pops into the comment section. So everything that you saw today from a data perspective, the dashboard, the top stories, the top channels, and everything else, the users, the top influencers, everything is retrievable through our API. And there are two main use cases that we've seen from other customers on our API, which is feeding internal dashboards. So they might want to have our data within their dashboards or show to their customers in their own setups. And that's one case. But one of the most interesting ones that I find is people normally in newspapers or heavy content magazines that they're basically building their own page dynamically based on GetSocial data. So for example, if they went to top stories and they did some kind of segment saying, I want to have, or I want to order all my articles by number of shares, and they would have this list here, they're using our API to retrieve the first 10 shares and order the home page by those articles. So they make sure that the highly engageable content is at the top, which then gets more clicks, gets more shares, gets more referrals, and then just feeds that traffic machines from the website. So that is exclusive. So influencers reporting, conversion, API, it's exclusive to that triple deal and triple coupon in this case, triple codes. And I mean, from what we've seen, a lot of people are buying that triple package. It's $147, but it gets a lifetime access with unlimited domains, and up to 500,000 sessions per month. So it's quite flexible, and you can actually have a lot of websites which are not that small using all these features and to your benefit as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for going through all that. Yeah, that is all we have for today. No questions. I think we had a bunch on the deal page that we got answered. So thank you so much for taking the time to do this walkthrough. And again, Sumo links on here. You can check out GetSocial on AppSumo.com, starting off at just $49, as we just saw. If you want to stack those codes, again, you have that option as well. Again, it's all backed by the AppSumo 60-day guarantee. So feel free to get it set up, play around with it, see what kind of results you can drive. And if you have any further questions, you can leave those on that AppSumo deal page, or I'm sure they can also reach out to your team directly with any questions. Awesome. Well,
you can also go to support@getsocial.io and we'll respond as soon as possible. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. We really appreciate you bringing this deal to the AppSumo community. I know we're all really excited about it. So thank you very much. Sumo Links, thank you for hopping on this morning. And I hope you all have a great weekend, and go check out GetSocial on AppSumo right now.
Cool.
All right.
Okay, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.